and have a better hunt than you would here burning 15 points on a general mule deer tag just to get rid of your points. Check their scores and expectations a little bit more. It's hard to convince an eastern whitetail hunter to come down here and hunt Koos deer, though.
Welcome to the Built to Hunt podcast, brought to you by the team of hunt advisors at the Huntin magazine, where we are dedicated to helping our members go on more hunts with better information. Join Huntin today at huntinfool.com.
All right, welcome to another Built to Hunt podcast. We are starting to think about Arizona, Garth. It's coming around the corner. It's one of the last draws that we apply for in the summer, but we want to talk about Arizona, and so we brought on our local Arizona expert, Mr. Bob Dykeman from Prescott, Arizona. Bob, how are you?
I'm good, guys. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to chatting with you guys a bit.
No, we're glad you're here, and we always like to go to the source where possible and get insider information. I know we were just talking about the weather, and that's always the question in Arizona. What's the weather doing?
Yeah.
Is it good? Is it bad? Is it fires? Is it drought? I mean, it's always drought, we say about the West.
Yeah.
But
always drought, always a windy spring. But, you know, as you guys follow along too, there was, you know, really good moisture last year, like in the monsoons. Had some good moisture through the fall and the winter and early this spring. So I'm very optimistic. We got our like kind of real dry months coming ahead in, you know, May and June. But man, I'm optimistic. I've been talking to guys about deer and elk and stuff, but I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of animals grow, especially after 2 years of real severe drought conditions. So
Yeah.
I think we're going to see some bucks and some bulls that are really unrecognizable from previous years.
Yeah, they start to blow up a little bit. It's amazing when they come off of those drought years sometimes. It's almost like that they go into those years and they just kind of slink back. They don't overexert themselves. And if they have one of those years where they come out of it, yeah, just like you said, they're unrecognizable. You don't even know it's the same deer.
Yep. Yeah, and you get 2 years or a year anyway of age class on them, and you know, bucks that are 170 the last couple of years, but have the potential to be, you know, super freaks. You're going to start seeing that, I think. You know, that got passes the last 2 years just because they were, you know, not very big. So I'm really looking forward to it. It should be a pretty fun fall, I think.
now, one thing we wanted to do on this podcast specifically was definitely talk about deer, but not so much the Strip. I know the Strip is still a special place, and there's a select few individuals that will get to hunt in the Strip in their lifetime, but most of us, especially as a non-resident, we're probably not going to get to hunt the Strip. So I'd like to get your take on some of these other hunts, right, including the Kaibab. I mean, there's a lot more opportunity there with different seasons, but even outside of the Kaibab, south of the ditch, how are the deer doing? What hunts can we look for? Expectations, you know. So that's kind of the basis for what we want to talk about today. I hope to hunt the Strip someday, but I realize I might not, or I might only get to once.
Right. Yep. Yeah, the Strip is a special place, and there's a lot of info out there on it and everything. But you know, as far as the rest of the state and stuff that guys can draw, there's plenty of tags and plenty of good tags, but the biggest thing that, you know, we try and talk to guys about is just curbing expectations to the hunt. I mean, you could come down and kill a giant in just about any unit down here. You know, there is a deer that is big, but it's not, you know, it's not something to expect. And that's kind of the hardest part with Arizona, is because we've got the best deer hunting in the world, you know, with the Strip and, you know, those late Kaibab hunts and some of those early Kaibab hunts even. But the rest of the state it's not something that you come down and expect to go kill a 180 or better type of deer. And a lot of guys just, you know, don't realize that. Now there is definitely a lot of those type of deer killed, but it's not ever something that we would sell a hunt on. It's tough. There's a lot of tags, especially a lot of these general, October general tags. You 300 to 500 hunters in a unit, and age class isn't quite there, and a lot of pressure, and you're killing just, the first mature buck you see, the first 4-point that you see in most cases. So it can be pretty tough for sure to find a big deer.
Now are the units down there were what I consider those general deer hunts, and I know that even the Kaibab and the Strip, I mean, they're listed under a general deer category.
Right.
But I always consider those ones that are just south, once you get down into those areas that are more liberal with those tags, do they have a lot more deer in those units, or are they, I mean, obviously they're just managing for a little bit lower age class, but is there a lot more deer, say, in Unit 1 than there is in 3A, 3C that's considered one of your better deer areas managed for better buck-to-doe ratios?
Yeah, and I'm not going to be able to really comment on that a whole lot because I don't spend time in over on the east part of the state personally. We've got a lot of guys that spend time over there, and I know they kill a bunch of really good bucks over in that 3A 3C hunt. And they manage that one a little bit higher. A little kind of like they manage 10. They manage 10 just a little bit differently. But Unit 8 right here, there's 8, 17A, 17B, 18s, 19s, and 8 just right here local around Prescott and Chino Valley and stuff. There's plenty of deer. There really is. I mean, it's not like there's a lot. I would never call it a lot of deer, and I would say that the numbers have actually gone down the last couple of years. But age class is just never really there. They manage a more opportunity and letting guys get out there and hunt, versus as more of an older age class quality type of hunt.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was getting at, is like the difference between the Kaibab and, say, like Kaibab and 7 and 9, where you've got these two big units. I mean, they're two different type of units, but you've got 1,100 tags in that versus you go over to the Kaibab and you're at 300.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's, and these places down here, they could have really good deer. We've killed some really good bucks down here, seen some really good bucks. It's just not managed for it, because of the 1,100 tags versus, and the Kaibab's a little bit different just because of the quality and the genetics that they have up there. But, I mean, I'm not saying you can turn any one of these units down here into a famous Kaibab type of deal, but it could definitely be a lot better than they are. But you got to give tags out somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So some guys that just want to go hunt.
Now, Bob, I know you've been a successful outfitter for many years, guiding and outfitting. Tell me, a guy who's looking at units, say, 17 through 18, I know there's this consensus that if you're looking at 17 or 18, the word private land just jumps out to you. That, can I even hunt that without an outfitter? Can I hunt it with an outfitter that doesn't have private land access? Tell me what a deer hunter should expect as he's looking at, 17A through 18B. Is that even possible?
Yeah, absolutely. It's it's absolutely possible. There's plenty of, there's a lot of private land and stuff, but there's so many good apps out there, Onyx and stuff that show you, man, everything you need. There's no questioning where you can hunt and what property, what's, most all of that stuff out there, especially, is all posted. You got the ROs, which they manage their deer a lot different. I'm really good friends with Corey out there, and they're able to manage it. That's that big, for the listeners, big private ranch in the 18s there. And man, they kill some giant bucks off of that place. But they're able to manage it, basically for themselves. I don't know what it is, 500,000 acres or something like that. But but back to your question, is with all the information available, there's still plenty of really good deer country out here in the 17s and 18s to hunt a guy coming from wherever, back east, wherever, with a little bit of research online and getting the right apps and maps and stuff. It's really not a problem. You can get into some good deer hunting on private or public land out here pretty easily.
What's your opinion, in your experience? I mean, you've been in Arizona a long time, with waiting for a Kaibab tag versus picking another option. I mean, I've always looked to you, Bob, as some of these units that maybe are less desired units or less pressured units, and you guys have been able to turn up good deer. I've always respected you for that. So tell me your experience, or what you would consult somebody looking at waiting for a Kaibab tag versus doing something else.
I think it goes to your other hunting opportunities, which, for us as residents, we've had it really, really good. I see that changing in the next 5 years, but we've been able to, put in for a Kaibab tag, a strip tag, some of those late general tags that they kind of rotate around in December. We've been able to put in for really, really good hunts, and then also, pretty much expect not to draw, but then go hunt over the counter in a lot of the same units. With, exception to the two up north, but still have a lot of hunting opportunity. So I always tell guys, like, if you hunt with a bow and you're willing to go hunt out here around town, make a trip down south in January, whatever it might be, guys want to get out and hunt, but you still have that opportunity with the over-the-counter archery stuff. So why not put your name in the hat for really just a once-in-a-lifetime type of deer, with, a strip and a kaibab? That's my kind of, thought to guys. And even non-residents with less than max, it's tough to tell them because the odds are so low. But if they're able to hunt, in wherever, Colorado every year, or they buy a tag there, or they hunt Texas, they hunt white, whatever they do, there's a lot of other places that you could go buy a tag and have a better hunt, say a Colorado landowner tag for a couple $1,000 than you would here burning 15 points on a general mule deer tag just to get rid of your points. We've hunted in the last couple of years with guys on the strip that have had, non-residents. The guy last year I hunted with had 2 points as a non-resident on the rifle tag. So there is a chance. It's just the rest of the state is, I don't want to say it sucks, but it's, for quality, it's not something that you would expect. I would never tell a guy that he's going to come down here and sell a hunt, south of the ditch, sell a hunt on anything over 170. It's not realistic. A guy wants to come out and hold out for something, that's great. But it's just definitely not something that I would ever tell a guy that he's going to have an opportunity at.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a good point. I mean, and then as soon as we switch to archery over the counter, you say, oh man, it's great. We've got lots of opportunities. And so you're managing expectations, and I respect that.
And that's our biggest thing, is just managing those expectations. But that may change for guys a lot with, guys now that they have, they're putting in for a really good tag. They got 15 points. They're putting in for a really good tag, and they've been coming out here because they've already got the license from applying. They're coming out here and over the counter hunting. Well, man, as you guys know, that's changing a whole bunch this year too.
Yeah.
And honestly, I probably see that more going to a draw in the next few years. I think they have to do it. The state of Arizona's population with just residents has just gone up tenfold, and then the popularity of those over the counter hunts, it can't be a free for all anymore. It's we've seen the effects of that down here, and unfortunately for everybody, it's very popular and a lot of deer are killed, and it can't be managed that way anymore. I'm bummed about it. I don't want to have to. I like hunting every single year and picking up a bow and going and messing around and stuff. So I think people are going to have to start picking on, do you want to put in for a good hunt and just build points and not hunt every year, or draw some of these tags? Like I said, that's my opinion on the way it's going, but it's going to make a lot of people pretty unhappy, I think, in the next 5 years. But it's inevitable. It's going to have to happen.
Now, you mentioned earlier these rotating hunts, these late hunts they have on general season, and at what point, or I guess it has to do with the individual's mindset going into the hunt, but like the 7 and 9 and the 10, both of those are ones that they added again this year. I think they've had those before, but as you've mentioned, they rotate them in. What is the expectation that a hunter should have if he doesn't have max points, but he wants a quality hunt, and there's very few tags for these? What is the expectation a guy should have going into some of those, or he should put that on his application?
Last year that unit, they had a unit 8, that late rifle in December.
Yep.
And we had a good friend of mine that guides for us and stuff. They had a buck up there that we were hoping to hunt in January, when the over-the-counter opened, hoping to hunt that deer, but he got killed on the rifle hunt in December, and he was a 4-point. That was, man, just a beautiful deer. I think he ended up being 193, 194, something like that. But so there's definitely possibilities of big deer. Unit 10 and 7 and 9 there, they've got some big deer, and they come out when it's chasing does. I'd be, depending on the guy's ability, shooting ability, physical ability, and ability to grind and hunt through some tough conditions and stuff. A guy could go kill a 180 or better type buck, I think, on those hunts. But like you guys said, there's 15 tags.
And the tricky part is, with that few of tags for non-residents, I think there's only going to be one that'll go to a non-resident at that point, and so be random.
Yeah. Do you have a lot of clients that put in for like the Kaibab early hunt as opposed to waiting for a late tag, and how is that hunt going for you guys?
No, that hunt's great too, and again, it's just managing expectations. Those deer, there's a lot of tags. They've cut tags again up there, which is good, but there's a lot of tags. But those it's a good hunt for a 170 type of buck with possibilities of something bigger. You know what I mean? It's there's definitely, because of the Kaibab and the genetics and everything else of stumbling on something really, really big is there. But I'd tell a guy it's, a 170 type of hunt. Something that you would expect to have opportunity at. And then anything beyond that, I think is gravy. You hunt hard, and it's possible for sure up there to kill something a lot bigger.
How have those recent fires? I know the Kaibab, it seems like they've just had fires every year for the last couple of years. How have those fires impacted that country? I mean, is that one of the reasons for the permit reduction they've had over the last few years, and they keep reducing those permits?
I think a little bit of it, and I don't know what that fire looks like up there right now, that recent one.
Yeah.
We'd have to talk to James up there about that. But I know there's a lot of guys that are pretty excited about it this year. And the possibility to be able to start hunting in that thing. But, I think the fire and just overall decline in deer numbers, Arizona and across the West. I'm sure you guys know about, Nevada and stuff. It's just deer numbers across the West. Hunting's popular, hunting is popular. People are getting really good at it. Technology and everything else. People are efficient. From boots to scopes and everything in between. People are getting really good at killing shit.
Yeah. I mean, and going down and looking at the recommendations they have for this year, it's about a 10% reduction in permits that the state has
Yep.
recommended. And some of these,
Yep.
I mean, we read down through them this morning. I don't think there's one that had an established hunt last year where they increased tags this year. It's all
Right.
reduction. And
Right.
and you, like you say, you can't go to any other state and not see the same thing.
Right.
It seems like
Right.
every state, that is the direction that they're going, because drought,
Yep.
everything, predators, just you name it, the deer seems
Yep.
like they're always at the bottom of the totem pole.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's, one of the reasons I really like personally the over-the-counter stuff that Arizona's doing. I think it's about time that they do something like this to actually be able to track the number of deer getting killed, instead of just guessing at it, and actually get some hard data on what they can do. I'm glad they're doing it now, so we don't see, 70% in tag reduction like, Nevada and stuff. I think it's going to be good for Arizona for the next few years to see exactly what, who's killing the deer and on what hunts.
Yeah. The tricky thing, and I looked at that from a outsider, and I've always taken advantage of that over-the-counter season just because it's a good time of year to go. But from an outfitter standpoint, that has got to be a difficult scenario when they put a quota on units and they have 3 seasons that you can fill that one quota on. It's not a quota per season. So I don't know. I mean, maybe you can elaborate on that, but I don't know how I would book a hunter for a January hunt in a unit based off of some of those quotas I saw.
Yeah, and it's going to be tough. And it's something that, Pat and Ben and I have touched on a little bit, trying to figure out exactly how we're going to do it. There's going to be, in my opinion, a lot of units down south that are still going to be open in December and January, just because nobody's hunting those units in August. Nobody's going to go out in August, and I mean, there's definitely a few guys, but whacking velvet bucks when it's 120 degrees outside. So there's going to be a lot of those units that stay open, and even if it's your plans to hunt one unit, maybe you got to go bounce across the road and hunt the next one, if your first unit is going to close up. So I think there's still going to be plenty of opportunity for that kind of stuff. Up here around Prescott and Chino Valley, where I think there's going to a big chunk of those quotas are going to be filled in August. I think a huge chunk are going to be filled in August with deer hunters, local deer hunters right around Prescott and Chino. So it'll be interesting to see exactly what that does. I don't think there's going to be a lot of opportunity up here in the northern part of the state in December and in January.
I think it's going to be interesting. This is kind of a trial and error thing to see how we did. And they set the quotas low, obviously. But,
right.
I mean, we're all going off of hypothetical numbers of how many deer were killed in the past where it wasn't mandatory reporting. But just looking at like 20A, 75 deer on the threshold, 20C, 45.
What's unit 8? If you got the list right there in front of you, is it like? I thought it was like 25 or something at 8.
Yeah, so it's 15 mule deer and 5 whitetail.
15 deer and 8. So that's gonna. I mean, that'll be closed in August.
Right out of the gate.
There's no way. There's no right out of the gate. The first week that one's closed up. So anybody listening, don't plan on coming in on unit 8 in December and January. I know. I mean, I could think of 5 guys that whack bucks in there. Just people that I know in the first couple days of that season. So
it's very conservative with these low numbers, like you say. But it's going to be interesting to see how fast that closes this year.
Right. I think it's going to, like those units up here. The 17s, 19s, 20s, 8, 10, I think they're going to get
gone.
closed up pretty quick.
Especially if it stays dry and people can still hunt around water and everything else.
Yep.
Now,
Yep.
what about south? If you drew a line at Prescott where you're at south, any other units down there for mule deer, rifle hunts, or archery hunts, I guess, that interest you, that you think have decent potential, that you like, if you're looking at just mule deer?
They've all got big deer potential, and that's the thing. You get those deer down there in the deserts. I mean, it's a lot like Mexico, They can live out in those flats and not be seen ever. And roll out. You could roll up on one. I mean, we had a client kill last year, like what was he, like 225 or 230 buck down there by Tucson in October.
Wow.
And it was just, they were hunting another big deer. We've got some great guides down there, and he was hunting another deer that he knew about that was, mid 180s type of deer. And this thing stood up on the other side of the draw, and it was like, holy, better kill that one right there.
Yeah.
So it can happen down there. Now, specifically, I don't think there's anything that jumps out. But it's, I think there's more potential to run into, a real big desert type of flat deer than there is a deer pounding around the juniper trees up here, where everything can get glassed real easy.
But to your point, you would say, well, just go hunt at archery on most of those hunts and save your points for something else.
I still would, unless you were going to go and do, some of the late tags, the December general tags, the 9 and this 7, 10 hunt that we were talking about. I'm sure there's a couple more across the state, but 3A, 3C, with the exception of those ones, for guys that are wanting to burn a bunch of points, those are all really good opportunities at killing a nice deer. And especially if you can get down here and spend, some time scouting or hire a local outfitter that knows the country and can do a bunch of scouting. There's definitely a lot of potential for really good deer. But as far as the general stuff, guys that just want to come down and hunt with, a few points here and there, man, there's throw a dart at a map and go hunt. Find some public land. They've all got, potential to have some good deer in it. I really try and get guys, especially non-residents in that, 6 to 10 range, for some of these Koos deer hunts. It's hard to convince an eastern whitetail hunter to come down here and hunt Koos deer, though. It's almost impossible. But man, there's some hunts down here that we've just been killing just some great bucks on. Boone and Crockett type bucks that obviously they don't look that big, but they're giants, but it's just hard to get a guy to get excited about those type of deer.
Well, to your point, it really does seem like getting the best bang for your buck. I mean, I kind of draw that line for like the mule deer that are in the Kaibab and some of that stuff up north, to me, are a different species of deer than the ones down south. They're both mule deer.
Yeah.
But when you get to the Koos deer standpoint and you start saying, well, this is a white-tailed deer that's 100, 105 inches, he's looking at you like, and?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Is he going to graduate above
that?
that?
No, you should kill him. Like, pull the trigger.
Yeah. But as far as the best bang for your buck, you're getting, in my opinion at least, that 6 to 9 points, you're getting a way better trophy animal for a Koos deer than you would be for a mule deer going into a similar type guaranteed hunt for that amount of points.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, there's no question about that. The October hunts can be really good. We do a ton of scouting, and they're hot. The problem with the October hunts is that they're hot, but you get first crack at those deer. As you guys know, a lot of those units down there have thousands of tags, and those deer get pretty tough to hunt in late October and the November hunts. But those first October hunts, if you can deal with the heat, man, they're really good hunts. And then the late December tags too. They're rutting, and you see a ton of deer. You see good bucks. There's action all day long. Like, they're a great hunt, and trophy potential is way higher than a general October tag for mule deer. So yeah. It's hard to get guys excited about those. There's you guys know guys that have come down here and hunted Koos deer, and they catch the bug, the Koos deer bug, and then just get addicted to it, and that's all they want to do. But to get the guys to take the first step into it can be pretty difficult sometimes.
It is like a drug. Like, it's something that once you get down there and you chase them around and you see how intricate it is to find those little buggers and the little hidey holes they tuck into and how much work and effort you have to put in to finding those things. And proportionately, that's what I love about them. Because proportionately, they still have, a 100-inch, 90-inch Koos deer is still, if I see an 80, 90-inch Koos, I'm excited. Because proportionately, he still has a rack that's proportionate to his body.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a big. People have a lot bigger labs than those deer. They're 80, 90 pounds, 100 pounds. You get a big bodied buck up here in the, around Prescott, these North Koos deer, and they get 120 or something, 120 pounds, but they're little deer. But like you said, they still look good. I think, in my opinion, they're the most beautiful mounts that you could ever have. I don't see anything prettier than those.
You personally, would you rather have an early October, or I should say the first hunt in October for Koos deer, or would you rather wait for a December tag? If you could draw either, which hunt would you rather have?
For me, it's a little bit different just because of the resources that I have available to myself. I don't know. And I think now without cameras down there, I don't know. I'd probably go December, honestly, without the cameras. I don't know, actually. I don't know.
That's good. You're torn. Tell us how you see this camera ban affecting that, and why you see that differently now.
I just don't think there's going to be a whole lot of people getting out and putting in the work in those hot summer months to scout. Those cameras took care of a lot of that scouting in July, August, and September when those deer are growing. And you can, go in and, maybe make a day and go in and check some cameras. It's going to suck for that day, but you're going to get a lot of information out of that one day of checking cameras versus, one day of glassing and scouting, without them. There's not a whole lot of information coming in. You're just going to have to go hunt. And that's, I think, the only reason I say that. I know, Ben and his guys down there in Tucson are really probably the craziest guys I've ever hunted with. They do stuff that I won't even think about. So I know they'll be down there in August and September, and when it's 110 degrees outside, and they're gonna be glassing. I'll guarantee it, because they're as Koos crazy as anybody. But for the average Joe, it's going to be more luck involved in October now, I think, than what it was before.
So even trying to compare, like, say, that October versus that late November into December, that third hunt, when realistically, when you look at those point-wise, is a little more comparable. But are the deer a little more active? So I guess flip that and say, okay, if for someone that comes in and is just going on that hunt and he's just going to go up there and wing it, which hunt would he have a better odds of taking advantage of, that October one or that third hunt end of November versus December?
I would say the October one for the sole reason of you got first crack at all the deer before they get pressured, because you got whatever 500 tags on the October one, and then 400 in early November, and then 300 at the end of November.
Yeah,
I would say just because they're not pressured, they're unpressured deer. You know, you got some archery hunters that are bumping them around a little bit, but pretty minimal compared to 1,000 rifle hunters before you.
Yeah.
You know, the way they stack those deer hunts up down there is you know, they're just dang near back to back from end of October through December. So I would, in that situation, I would definitely take the October tags. It's going to be hot, for sure hot, but less pressured deer.
Now, Bob, you've structured a little bit different guide service business, I would say, and I'm curious how that works and why. And I'll say it's a little bit different in the sense that you use very specific local guides that are experts either in the species or their area they're hunting. So tell me a little bit about how you structured that and how it's different than what guys shopping on the internet finding a guide service on.
Yep. I think for the most part, it's we manage expectations, and it's a lot of what we've talked about here already, but it's very easy to sell a guy a hunt, telling him that, you know, he's got a chance at a 180 buck or a 380 bull or a 240 buck or whatever the number is for the unit. It's very easy to tell a guy that, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, it's not truthful. And, you know, it's shocking to us how many people that we talk to that have said, well, you know, so-and-so said that I'll have a chance at a 380 bull for sure. And I mean, my response is, well, you should probably go hunt with them. That sounds great, you know? But it's not, you guys know that a 380 bull is a big bull. And even to tell a guy that he's going to have the opportunity at a bull like that in the best unit in the state is unrealistic. So it's managing expectations, but it's also, like you kind of touched on there, is having local guys that know every, you know, piece of the country, and that unit. It works really well. We don't have any full-time guides. I think, in my opinion, full-time guides get burnt out by the end of a season. I was one. I worked full-time for a lot of years. You know, I still spend a lot of time in the woods, but I've got another job. I've got a family, but it makes that time that we do spend more valuable. And we enjoy it a lot more. And I think people that are like any job, people that are going to enjoy the work are going to work harder. You know, you get a guy that's run 10, 12 hunts already, and then comes down to, you know, November and December and into January, and man, they're burned out. They don't work as hard. They don't love it as much. So, you know, our guides, the time that they spend in the field, they're loving it. They're doing it. They've all got real jobs, a lot of, you know, officers and firemen and stuff. And it's just, they're spending the time in the field when they love it instead of being burned out and having to do it. And I think that makes them more motivated and more successful.
No, I like that. I think that's interesting. And as we help guys shop for the type of hunt they're going on or the type of hunt they want, you know, we always try to educate everybody, hey, you're not just selecting the type of animal that they're going to put you on. Yes, that's icing on the cake at the end of a hunt, but let's look at the experience. Let's look at their knowledge. And I want you to hunt with someone that knows the area so they can teach you about it. And so you can learn and get a true experience, because especially if you're hunting mule deer, you're not coming to Arizona that often. Now, if you switch over to Koos deer, you have potential to hunt Koos deer a lot more often. But like you say, that's a hard transition for people to make. But I'm always intrigued by, you know, Ben on your team and his group of guys. Whenever I see pictures or videos of their hunts, man, they're backpacked in a lot of times. They're spike camping in some nasty area. I mean, that's a true backcountry Koos deer hunt. That's not
Dude,
glassing from the road.
yeah, and those guys that are wanting that type of hunt, those guys, I'm telling you, those guys down there, Ben and his buddies, are animals. They are absolutely crazy. The stuff that they go into and pack into, they're packing water into every, like drinking water and stuff every couple months, just, caching it back there. So they've got it available. But they love doing that. Guys that are wanting like a really cool backpack hunt for minimal points and stuff in Arizona at trophy potential, there's a lot of it out here. Again, like you said, you got to get the guys, an outfit, and not even just the outfit, but a guide that is wanting to do stuff. So that's kind of what we tell a lot of people too, is you're not shopping an outfitter. You should be shopping a guide, a specific guide. You should know, all of our clients, they pretty much know who they're hunting with when they book a hunt. Whether it's me, Pat, or Ben, or any one of our other guides, they're able to have a conversation with them and see if that fit is right. And so I think that's very important, because it's very easy to, in Arizona, I mean, the guide license is anybody can get it. Pretty much, it's very, very easy to get. So it's a saturated guide market. But there's very few really good guides out there, in my opinion. So it's easy to sell hunts, but doing it the right way, it gets a little bit more difficult, just because we want to have the right guides for our clients. But yeah, that's but back to that Koos Deer deal, man. That's, if anybody out there is looking for a cool 5-day backpack into crazy country, talk to Ben. It's stuff that I'm not going to go do, to be honest with you. He's wild, dude.
If you jump back over to Mule Deer for a second, you as an Arizona resident, I mean, do you feel like Arizona needs some alternative management units? Do we need some more, other than how
I'd like to see it.
Okay.
I really would like to see it. They've done that 3A 3C stuff, and I think have been very successful in it. I'd like to see a few more units like that. And I think you could probably, like I kind of touched on earlier, you could probably pick any unit out here and turn it into, an alternate management type of unit, and it probably has very good success. And not immediately, obviously, but 5 years down the road, 3A 3C, took a few years, but man, they're killing some great bucks over there. And I think you could do that with just about any unit out here. It just going to take pissing some guys off and cutting tags and managing it differently.
And I think that's interesting that we see that, like in Utah, with our limited entry deer, we're down to, honestly, the Henry Mountains, the 𝗙ance, and the Fillmore Oak Creek. And outside of that, there's a huge gap when you get down to our lower units, you could say. Right. So there's just, what I'm saying is there's not enough options for guys, and I wish we had more units where we could still balance opportunity and have all these, high tag quota hunts, but we could have a few more units that were set aside. We're going to try to manage for something special, and I think Arizona's in that same mix where we have tons of mule deer hunts, but very few of them that are sought after by non-residents.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you're in such a dead zone with 5 to 18 points. What do you do with that? Yeah. I have no idea. You could go draw a general hunt, and if you get hooked up with the right outfitter, and are willing to go home, empty-handed and go hunt hard and stuff, you might have a decent chance at, 170 or better type of deer. But man, that's a lot of work even for that.
Yeah.
But there's not that middle ground type of hunt. That, I could tell a guy like, oh, you got 12 points. Let's do this hunt. It'll be a really good hunt for you. We could go kill a 170 buck pretty easily. We just don't have it. And I wish we did. I wish we had some more of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it would make perfect sense, honestly, to grab some units that like an 8 or a 5A, B, or 6A, something somewhere down in there that you could just take a couple of those areas, and you wouldn't even have to go full Arizona strip and really restrict those tags, but just limit the number of harvest on there to where a few more of those bucks would get old.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. But at the same time, playing devil's advocate here is there's so many people in the state and across the country that want to hunt.
Yep.
And get an opportunity. You start doing that with a couple of units, and now all of a sudden there's you're cutting out 500 deer tags out of the state, or 1,000 deer tags out of the state throughout the year, where there's 1,000 people that don't get to go hunt.
Yep.
And then you mix it with the harvest deal for over the counter, and cutting tags, and man, who do you make happy? The game, and as easy as it is to bash the game and fish, they're in a tough spot. They're never gonna make everybody happy. It's 100% impossible. And I understand that they're doing the best they can, and I disagree with quite a bit of stuff, but at the same time, like, man, what are they to do? People just want to get out and hunt. Kids want to hunt.
Yep.
It's tough. Old guys want to go and hunt and just have a tag to have an excuse to be in the woods. But then they take a tag from somebody that's real serious. There's a billion different arguments out there, but man, people they like hunting. People like getting out, and it's an excuse to get out.
Right.
So it's a pretty tough situation that the Game and Fish is in on doing, hunts like that. Which way are you going to manage it?
Yeah. Bob, do you have much experience with the youth opportunities, the youth only hunts? And
they're awesome.
What hunts do you think a youth should be looking at there? I mean, most of them you can shoot any deer, a Koos or a mule deer. But
yeah. The hunt right here, that block hunt, whatever it is, 17A, B, 19A, 19B, whatever that is, maybe one more in there, 18A
20A.
Or something like that, but 20A, like, man, that is a great hunt, because it's those bucks still killing them, like when they're in velvet. They're still out in their summer grounds. It really is. It's a fun hunt for kids. And you could probably honestly kill better bucks on that hunt with a kid than you can with somebody on the general rifle tag in October, just for the sole purpose of those deer are still out summering. Most of them haven't shed yet. They don't, how deer get when they shed velvet. They kind of get holed up and pretty tough to hunt. These deer are still out in the open and hanging out. That's a great hunt. That 10 hunt is just a phenomenal hunt. A little bit more quality, a little harder to draw, but quality wise, they kill some really good deer up there, man. Last year we had a good friend of ours, his daughter killed like a 204 buck.
Wow.
I had a buck up there the year before that we were trying to archery hunt, me and a buddy of mine, and trying to get him killed with our bows, and never did. And that deer got whacked by a kid on that junior hunt. And I think that deer ended up being like 210 or 212 or something. But so there's some phenomenal youth opportunities that really people don't take advantage of. But yeah, those ones right here local are, man, pretty good hunts.
And that's always one thing that, just growing up in Utah, and I was always used to all the deer being stripped by mid-September.
Yeah.
Like usually all the deer are rubbed, and that's the one important thing about Arizona. It's almost like you have this gap where everything north Utah, you kind of get a little bit of an earlier rut in November, but it's like all of a sudden you hit that Arizona line and you have that typical late November rut. But once you go south of that Grand Canyon, it's just like you flip a switch and it starts going from the end of December all the way to early January or mid-January when they're rutting. And that's the one thing when you look at those season dates, and although a lot of them are still October, the fact that most of them are still packing velvet, and like you'd said, in their summer patterns, I think a lot of people don't know that.
Different, yeah.
Yeah, it really is. And they're, I don't have the draw odds in front of me, but that 17 hunt, that block hunt is pretty darn easy to draw for a kid. That 10 hunt's a little bit more difficult, but they're great opportunities. They really are. There's some good deer out there getting killed on those hunts just because of the summer stuff.
Yeah.
Not every single one's going to be in velvet, but they're still in their kind of summer patterns,
Yep.
Neat youth opportunities, and still one of the cheapest states in the West for a youth license and tag if they draw, especially for non-residents. If it's a youth only, not just a youth applying, you're only $5 for the license, and then I think it's $25 if you draw, even as a non-resident.
Oh, there you go.
Wow.
It's cheap as it gets.
It's free. That's free.
Yeah.
Basically.
And for most part, I mean, that's the cool thing is a lot of those youth hunts, they're between 2 and 4 points to draw. Some of them will hit that 5-point range, but I mean, gosh dang, for kids having first crack at all these animals and getting out there and it's the only people in the field.
Right.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I like
I got 3 little boys. They're a long ways from hunting. They're 4, 3, and 2, but man, 6 more years and there's going to be some deer in trouble in the state. I cannot wait. I can't wait.
That's great. Well, Bob, to wrap it up a little bit, let's jump up to the strip just for a second. 13A is the late hunt this year. 13B is earlier, still both in November, of course, and it looks like they cut tags off of each of those hunts, 10 tags off of each. You personally, if you get one choice, are you going 13A or 13B?
I personally like B. I've spent way more time in B than A. I think there's more huntable country in 13B versus A. A, there's less tags, but people can kind of get stacked up down there. They can get stacked up in B too, but without the cameras, man, the cameras are going to change a bunch up there. I think it's going to be a lot more fun, in my opinion, especially that rifle hunt. You're going to be able to go up there and find a buck someplace and maybe have them to yourself, whether it's a $190 or a $250. Where versus before, I mean, it was just some crazy hunting. That year, 19 was, I've never seen anything like it. There was a couple of big bucks stacked up in one spot, and I got 100 people in there. I don't know,
Combat hunting.
I have never seen nothing like it. It was unbelievable. So I think that's going to change. You're not going to have that. There's going to be a lot less competing. There's going to be people spread out in A and B. Either one's going to be a great hunt, but I think it's going to be so much better without the cameras up there. It's, people are going to have to check their scores and expectations a little bit more, without having those cameras doing all the scouting. But, it's not going to be, can't go up there and expect a $230 anymore, even on a phenomenal year, or a $220 or $210 even, there's definitely going to be some curbing of expectations up there, but either one's good. The archery hunts, in my opinion, are better.
Even without cameras, would you still say that?
I'll tell them 10 times out of 10, I'll take that archery tag versus that rifle tag. Again, I think it obviously they're rutting in on the rifle tag and stuff, but they're in their summer patterns, and in August and September, man, easy to glass. You got long days. It's I love those. I love those archery hunts. We kill all our biggest bucks on the archery hunt without a question. And I'll tell a guy 10 times out of 10, I'd take that archery hunt over the rifle.
Now, what about a guy that is, say, getting up in age a little bit? He's maybe not as sure about his spot and stock abilities, and he was thinking, well, if I can draw strip archery, we'll run cameras, and I'll just sit on a water hole. Is that still a possibility without cameras? Can you figure out which water they're going to and sit them on a water hole, or is he going to have to spot and stop?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's going to take a little bit more guessing. But you find a buck. The problem with it now is you're not going to know what time that buck comes in. There's a lot of deer up there that are nocturnal, and that's just, they never hit during the day, and you might glass him up 300 yards from his water, but he ain't hitting it during the day. So it's going to be a lot harder to figure out if a deer is actually huntable on water. Like I said, you could probably glass a deer up, find him, know that he's hitting that catchment or that pond or whatever, and you could sit it for 10 days without anybody else in there. But he still's not going to come in during the day. Just because he's just a nighttime drinker. That's just what he is. So it's going to be a lot harder to figure out what deer you actually have a chance at on water.
Gotcha.
So that'll be a little bit more difficult, but I mean, a lot of that country, even like older guys, it's, there's a lot of opportunity for, crossbow permits, champ tags. And man, there's some pretty easy country up there to hunt, even if for a guy that can't get around like he used to. If it's the difference between waiting and hunting right now, I'd go hunt right now.
Yeah.
Especially those guys, they're not going to get any younger, right? So I'd take the chance and just draw a tag, even if it's first choice, second choice, rifle, archery, whatever, both archery hunts or whatever, but put your name in the pot for anything you can get. Because there's still some very easy to country to hunt up there for a guy that can't go real hard.
Selfishly, I was hoping that you would say, you just better bag that archery hunt on the strip now. It's not going to be any good. And if you want to hunt this strip and be successful, stick with a rifle. Because I'm the one that's not on the max point category. So I'm like, man, if there was ever a chance that I would maybe be able to hunt the strip, maybe after these cameras went away, people would fall off the archery fad and they wouldn't be going up there anymore.
Probably not going to happen in your lifetime.
Well, you guys told me that you could edit anything out. That's the stupid thing I said, right?
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. That's good.
But no, dude, they're fun hunts. They're fun. I mean, any one of the hunts that you can draw up there is going to be good. It's you guys, I don't know how much time you've spent up there or nothing, but it's a very special place. And there's no place like it. There's just no place like it.
Very good. Well, heck, we sure appreciate your time. What do you do for your day job? Why don't you tell the listeners what you're doing right now, a little bit more about your family?
Yeah, I do. I got 3 little boys, 4, 3, and 2. I work kind of doing some construction, some painting, remodel type stuff in the spring. My wife's a realtor here in the Prescott area, and she's just busier than hell right now. So yeah, just trying to keep 3 boys from killing each other is kind of one of the main priorities right now.
That's good.
I commercial fish in Alaska in the summertime. I go up there for like 4 weeks and work on a commercial fishing boat. Been doing it I went up there when I was 21 and I'm 36 now. So 15 or 16 years. So I'll head back up there at the end of June for 3 or 4 weeks and then back and then start hunting all fall, doing a lot of scouting and spend a lot of time on the strip. And I do mostly, for Shadow Valley here, I do a lot of the Unit 8 camps. So we've got archery hunters, got a couple of those early rifle hunters in 8. That'll be exciting. And then the late rifle tag in Unit 8 too. So,
cool.
If anybody wants to come and hunt Unit 8 General in October, as much as I've got out, it might be able to kill a decent buck.
Sounds good. Well, we appreciate your time and sharing some knowledge with us. And we'll get you on again and talk more as it gets closer to the season or right after.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys having me.
So don't forget to apply for Arizona deer, sheep,
You can forget. It's not going to hurt anybody's feelings if somebody forgets. Remember that.
June 14th is your drop dead deadline to apply for that.
Yep.
So I know everybody.
Yep. Give us a call if you guys got any questions. We love chatting with me, Pat, and Ben. Love chatting with guys about hunting. So questions, type of hunts, whatever we've talked about here, call us, call these guys here, and love to get people pointed in the right direction.
Sounds good. Anything else, Garth?
I think that about covered it.
Okay, let's go to Arizona. Probably in an archery over-the-counter August hunt.
If you want to guarantee your spot.
If you want to make sure the quota has not been met.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, guys. But man, it's going to be interesting to see. It really is. It's they're going to get filled up pretty quick.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, thank you.
Cool.
Talk to you there, Bob.
Appreciate it, guys. See ya.